Beginning transmission 124. Manifest Destiny. File under Andy Wilson Month.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't start some shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater Podcast.
面白い本と雑誌ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week, a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions. They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit.
No one got heroin addiction like Lane Staley did.
No, if you're talking heroin addiction, I mean, you got to go Stone Temple Pilots.
Well,
Yeah.
that too.
He
I mean,
laughed.
they really got it as well.
He held out for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were all kind of. I mean, I almost thought that was going to be the next Keith Richards.
All
Oh,
I
yeah.
know is we need to sit down and have a really strong conversation about what kind of world we're going to leave Keith Richards.
Yes, we're all very concerned about that.
Right.
Well, no, he's he's the reason Prince and Bowie and all those guys died because he's just taken their quickening. He's a
Yeah.
He's a Highlander.
He's an immortal.
There can be only one.
There can be only one.
There
Someone-
can be
he may
only
not die,
one.
but he does
I'm
eat.
taking your essence, David Bowie. Ah.
Although I do swear that in an attic somewhere there's a portrait of Keith Richards that's getting prettier each day. Has to be.
I would love to see that picture. He wasn't pretty to begin with, so
No.
That's why
No,
people
really,
pick up
though,
guitars
like-
if they saw that Keith Richards could get laid. If I play a guitar, I can get
Right.
laid too.
No, really, the Scorpions might be the perfect example of wow.
Oh, they're an
those
ugly
guys
band.
got laid. I don't understand the how people are obsessed with Mick Jagger because I think he looks like a walking scrotum with lips.
He still does. Maybe
Still
that's why.
And honestly, I can't take claim for that joke. That was from Absolutely Fabulous.
He's so leathery now.
He's been leathery forever. When he was at the
Any more leathery is going to be beef jerky.
No, when they played the Super Bowl halftime show a couple years ago, and he was running around clapping his arms, his underarm flapped like he was going to fly away, like he was a bat. It was awesome.
His magical angel wings.
Yeah, the angel wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful.
I just listened to our Vader Down episode. Yeah. And I totally forgotten about Brian when you were talking about when you did that voice at work, the accent. And the lady was like, so it's her question was, so what kind of shows did he watch as a kid and all this stuff?
That's so terrifying. It's so horrible. Actually, we have follow-up information on that.
Oh, we do.
We do have follow-up information. By the way, I started recording 2 minutes ago.
I know. I can see.
Okay. So this is a depressing fact that Todd will probably appreciate more than anything, I think.
Okay.
I am 2 books away from 900 in my collection. My trades.
Oh, look at you.
You've gone up. That's good for me.
I went to the comic shop today and I bought a few and then I added them to my thing and I was like, I haven't looked because of the new feature. I can just add them and I just keep them. I just keep my list on my to be read, so I haven't paid attention to my overall count. And I went back and looked at my overall count, and I'm like, well, shit. Because my goal was I didn't want to go over 900 this year. So, and the likelihood of me only buying 2 more comics by the end of the year is next to nothing. So
I'm at 775.
Okay, I feel a little less bad. Maya's is probably ridiculous, but
It's over 9,000.
Oh my God,
Super Saiyan over here.
That's my new favorite thing ever. So there's a song by this Australian group, and the song's called "Big Enough."
Mm-hmm.
And it's I first thought they were a joke, but no, it's a serious video. But they're just horrible. And there's this part where there's this guy who's Native American or Mexican with a cowboy hat on in the sky, screaming. And so they've taken that audio and they've put it over different things. So they did it for Jurassic World with the dinosaurs screaming. But the best I've seen was they do is like this meme that says, "So what is this Dragon Ball Z show actually about?" And then it's all the characters screaming but doing that voice. I'll have to tag you in it on Facebook. It's absolutely hilarious. They've got dozens of these things now. I've been watching them nonstop and getting stuck in Maya's head, and he hates me.
He's addicted.
Have you ever seen the Screaming Goats?
Oh yeah.
I had a DJ at work because they'd done some Screaming Goats remixes. Like there was the Taylor Swift song where they replaced the "Hey" with that. I got him to play that for the crowd, and it was great because the crowd starts listening to the song and they start dancing. All of a sudden, they hear the scream, and then they're looking around me like, "What is that?" And then I sampled it for him and gave him a copy of it, so he had it on a hot button as well. So he was dropping it in wherever he wanted as well, and like we were both just sitting there laughing ridiculously at this crowd at this club, just like losing it, being like, "Where is this weird scream coming from?" It was very enjoyable. I talked that DJ into doing other weird, horrible things. We mess with crowds a lot. I don't know. We get bored, I guess. Anyway.
I knew you were trouble when you walked in, Brian.
That's true. I know.
Trouble.
Oh, man. I don't know what I'm more disappointed about, the fact that you made that reference or the fact that I understood that reference. That's a little heartbreaking.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hey, welcome to episode, I think this is 124, if my notes are correct.
Sure.
I'll call it 124.
Sure.
Let me see.
At some
yes,
point,
124.
we'll do the Mission Impossible thing and just give it names and stop using numbers.
Yeah, we could do that, but I'm a little proud of the number fact. I just don't keep track of them, but it's
what's
kind of
actually
nice.
really funny is Cinema Queens. When this episode comes out, we will be putting out episode 24. So we're 100 episodes behind this one.
Wow.
Nice. Future Brian, cut all that out, including Todd's completely wrong language joke.
Well, I speak everything but Greek, and that's Greek to me.
Ching. Okay.
Thank you, ladies and germs. I'll be here all weekend. 2 shows Saturday.
Okay. He's a little preemptive on his dad jokes, but he's got him rolling. We got Mr. Todd.
Hey, I'm Todd here in Utah. You can find me here on the Funny Books and Firewater as a panelist. I also do English class hooligans with my better half, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
I do it as well with the cat herder himself, Brian. It's where we do voluntary book reports on classic books, and we discuss whether or not they deserve it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you see me around, say hi, and that'll be fun.
Okie doke.
Adam gets me.
It's a video of all the Pokemon from Pokemon Go going, yes. And one of them goes, yes.
So I was at the Salt Lake Farmers Market last weekend, and you know how these build the little A-frame sandwich boards with things on it? There was an inspirational quote, and then it just attributed it to Mewtwo.
I've seen that before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Pokemon in the wild.
Our Lord and Savior Mewtwo.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mew the second.
See, that is a reference I completely do not get at all. Like, that's just, I have no idea.
It's okay, honey.
I know,
It's just with a franchise that's made more money than Star Wars.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I completely missed Pokemon as a child and as an adolescent. I was just like slightly too old for it.
Yeah.
But my kids got way into it, and so now I know everything about Pokemon. We went in and we pre-ordered the Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu already. So like it's happening. It's happening.
Okay, well, they're both Pikachu and Eevee lovers. We'll start out with Mr. Maya.
Hi, I'm Maya. You can catch me here on Funny Books and Firewater and on Twitter at Mr. Maya and Instagram the Mr. Maya.
All right.
Let's talk about things and stuff.
And the Pikachu to his Mewtwo?
Sure, I'll take that.
There we are.
Yeah. We have Mr. Adam.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Adam, reviews editor over at Big Shiny Robot. Still trying to figure out what we're doing with Bored as Hell with Andy.
Hi,
Andy.
Hi, everybody.
And
that really puffs my jigglies.
that really wiggles my tuff. And then also you can
funny now.
Find me. I always feel funny. Welcome to my life. And then you can always find me over at Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hey,
Hi, Chris.
And doing other shenanigans up here in Salt Lake City, Utah. You can follow me on Twitter at Sithbot, SITHBOT _
Awesome. And of course, we have the reason why we're all here this month, the birthday boy himself, Mr. Andy Wilson.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Andy.
That really snores my lax. I had to reach for that one. You can find my writings about movies and comics and all other sorts of things over at Graphic Policy. You can follow me on Twitter at Citizen Andy. And is coming soon, the Hall of Greatness, which I will tell you more about when we get to our suggestions section.
And hey, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based out of Southern California. And yeah, just waiting for stuff I can talk about. Most of it I never can because I work for a big evil corporation, but that's how it goes. So before we step into this, we got a letter from Mr. William. We won't give you our last name out, William, but this is from a couple weeks ago because we're recording ahead of time. This email is a little bit out.
Live?
It's not live. No, we have lives, and I need time to edit and all sorts of things. So William said, just wanted to say I love the reads for this summer. So I think Andy, you should take some credit for that.
Thank you, William. You're welcome.
Second, he says that you guys should suggest a drinking game for listening to the podcast. Examples are take a drink every time someone says a Manny Bothands joke, or take a drink whenever someone calls Adam a cum dumpster. There are many others out there.
Himself doing that.
Yeah, so we're going to start working on that. Thank you, William, for that suggestion. If you have any other suggestions for drinking game rules, by all means, email us. funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com, or you can do as William did and go to our website and find the comment section and send it to us. And then the other thing he had is information on, we had discussed a drink at a restaurant called El Chihuahua.
Yep, I've been there.
Yeah, so we had some, basically to fill you back in, it's a very, very large fishbowl of a drink, which we did not think was legal in Utah. So William writes, lastly, I wanted to help clarify why El Chihuahua can serve Death Stars. They have been serving the drink since they opened before the current law came into effect, and thus can operate on a grandfather license, which lets them serve their special drink, but each guest can only have 2 of the regular ones or 1 extra strong one. Downside, though, is that they cannot transfer license to another location or hold it if they make major changes to the current location. They are also not allowed the license to lapse, or they will lose the ability to have such great drinks. Hope that helps. Much love, William. So thank you very much for your email, William. We appreciate the info. And
yeah, I was going to interject in Salt Lake here, there was that old Lamb's Cafe that was around forever and a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they had briefly let their license lapse, and they lost their grandfathered license, and they permanently shut their doors because they wouldn't be granted it back. And they couldn't change the infrastructure of their place physically enough for the new alcohol.
I love
rules.
that place.
It's ridiculous.
So
yeah.
So Lamb's closed its doors because of a 3-day lapse of their liquor license.
I just love this idea that there are grandfathered liquor licenses. It's like, back in my day, we could have large, strong drinks in Salt Lake City, like the Death Star. And it's like, if we actually think about it, it's a really relatively recent phenomenon that we've gone like full nanny state with the booze. Mm-hmm. And, it's just so funny to me because it's like, I take my kids to Applebee's here in Austin, and there's a bar right in the middle of the restaurant. And if I want a giant alcohol something, I could get it. The bar's right there.
If you want a bowl of
margarita, I don't even, because I don't drink. And it's so funny. Like, I'm like, well, there's the bar right in the middle of this restaurant. Obviously, now we're all becoming alcoholics. It's like, oh, Utah.
Obviously.
One thing I didn't realize until I moved out of Utah is that at most Chuck E. Cheese's, they serve beer.
Oh, yeah.
That would make that experience much
the
better.
Parents need it to get through the experience.
Definitely.
Well, the funny thing is that I was watching, there was a YouTube video that had, like, over the course of a month, maybe it might have even been on, like, The Daily Show or whatever. Over the course of a month, they showed every news article about a family having a fight that the police had to be called for at the Chuck E. Cheese. Like, every family disintegration they showed, like, within, like, the course of a month, and it was, like, 7 or 8 times that it happened around the country.
I'm Todd Talkington, and I approve of that message.
You like watching families fight in like drunkenly and at a kid's birthday party?
It's kind of like if you go to the House of the Mouse and you watch people come out have this great family vacation and they melt down. It's just
no. You watch families being destroyed by the end of that evening.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so damn expensive. It's like, you will have fun, damn it. I spent a lot of money for you to have fun.
So I'm coming out to California next week to go to a ball game. And I was just looking around, and the Grand Californian, like the cheap seats there at the Grand Californian, it's like $600 a night.
Yeah, you're also there right in the middle of the summer. Speaking of alcoholic beverages, we will jump into our drinking game rules.
And now for sports.
Listen up, sports fans. Prepare yourself and your liver for this week's drinking game. Remember, it's only a game, and a dumb one at that. So don't take it too seriously, and above all else, please drink responsibly.
And Maya, I know you have a drinking game rule because you stole mine, so do you want to go ahead and lead off?
Sure. My drinking game is called That's Not a Minotaur. There will be some moments in this book where minotaurs get brought up and people say that they're not a minotaur, what they're being described as.
They get into semantic arguments over it.
You're a minotaur.
So anytime that was trying, like, my least spoilery way of trying to put that, but anytime that happens, take a drink.
Mine, I don't know if anybody else remembers this. Does anybody remember Picture Page?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so mine is picture page. It's time to do a picture page is the name of my rule. For those of you who don't know, it was a little kids show that they would draw a picture, and the host was the one and only Bill Cosby. So that whole thing has a little bit of a darker twist now. But every time Lewis wants to stop and draw something, take a drink. Adam, I know you have another musical title for yours.
Yeah, mine is You're an asshole, an asshole. Every time Clark is a dick, take a drink.
Which is throughout the entire book. Yep. And Mr. Andy, what's your drinking game rule?
Mine's also musical. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Anytime there is red or green used to depict an act of violence, and there are many, take a drink.
You are a mean person.
Yeah, that is.
By the end of the book, it's beginning to look a lot like fuck this.
Yeah.
And Mr. Todd.
Why do we bring those guys again?
Yeah.
So, as they're starting their journey and whatnot, you've got these different characters they're looking at. It's like, oh, look at all these jail rapist killers. Why do we bring them along again? Take a drink.
Okie doke. There are a lot of characters. You're wondering why they're along for the ride, and then one of them pieces it all together for you in a lovely little thing. So now is the time in which we take a vote on the count of three that we will all say whether or not we feel like it is worth you, our dear listeners, hard-earned time and money and effort to go and hunt this book down and read it. That includes you, William. We want to make sure this is the right book for you. So on the count of three, yay or nay. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Yay. Is that unanimous? I didn't hear any nays.
Nay. No, it was all yes.
First you win.
Okay. And then you nay.
And then you nay.
And then I quit the podcast. See you guys.
Hey, if I've survived many Balkans.
That's true.
Take a drink.
Take a drink, William. So, anybody have... I guess we haven't even discussed what this book is about, actually.
What's it called?
Yeah.
It's called Manifest... We haven't even put the name of the book.
25 minutes in.
But, so this is a book called Manifest Destiny. This is volume 1, Flora and Fauna. It's an ongoing series. How old is this, Andy?
A couple years, I think. I think they're on volume 5 now, so...
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. So the general idea is that Lewis and Clark are going on their expedition to the West, and it's not exactly what they taught you in your history books. They're actually monster hunters, and they're going out there to clear the West of all sorts of demons and monsters so that the American people can rest safe and move west and take over that land.
White people.
Oh,
but yes.
Yes, white people. I apologize, yes. Good upstanding white Americans.
Isn't that the only people?
Right.
The only people that matter.
At the time, yeah, probably that's what they considered. But yeah,
the
so
Irish
that's
were
the
still not
general.
okay.
That's true.
They had those 3/5 of people. They had those, so.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but Sacagawea is in here as well. Thank you for that shame. That would be another drinking game rule. Every time the shame bell comes out, for sure, would have to be a drinking game rule.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. We're working on it, William. Send us more suggestions. Oh, and Mr. Porg. Wow.
We're going to fuck you up, William.
William does not want to go drinking with us. That's we are bad influences.
I think William does want to go drinking with us.
Yeah, I'll go to El Chihuahua with you.
I'll be out there for Comic-Con, William. Let us know. Which is coming up soon, actually.
When this airs, it's like a week away.
Right.
Yeah. So next week I'll be there. You know how to get a hold of me, William. So
Grinder.
Cool.
Grinder, I hardly know her.
Surely you can't be serious.
Don't call me Shirley. So, I mean, is there anything else? Any other forewarnings, Andy?
I don't think so.
It's not for kids.
It is mature.
It is.
Yeah.
It is mature, yes. Mature as in there are some gory things in it, not as mature like the rest of us, because we are definitely not mature.
Oh, no, not at all.
No.
And there's talk of stuff running out of some lady's cunny.
Yeah, that happens a couple
There's
times.
some boobs. There's Minotaur boobs.
Yeah.
There are Minotaur
Would you
boobs.
consider those boobs? Because there weren't nipples.
I don't know.
Boobs.
Well,
Just keep it. It's definitely not for kids. Like we've done some like Vader Down and stuff that anyone could read.
no,
but
this
one
is not for children.
Not for the... Well, it's not, I wouldn't even say it. I mean, the faint of heart could probably handle it, but, there are some...
My teenager self would have giggled.
Yeah.
That's... Your current self probably giggled.
Thank
I
you.
don't know. I think me as a teenager would have enjoyed this quite a bit. I would have been like, ooh, what a naughty little treat. And I'm learning about history.
I don't know.
I'm going to read this again.
What I would really love is for somebody to go in and talk about Lewis and Clark and basically base it off of this book. Would be like the greatest thing
And then
ever.
they found the plant zombie
that would be
people.
fantastic.
That would...
Then there were Minotaurs.
Yep.
Ooh, we're starting to get spoilery before the
Okay,
break
so
here.
we'll take a break and then we'll
Yes.
give our book report after we get back. And we'll see you on the flip side.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Hi, we're Rebecca and Charity. We get together every once in a while to talk about food and our mental health journeys.
Join us on Spoonful of Podcast as we discuss such compelling subjects as
Cinnamon rolls,
depression, European Twinkies,
ADHD,
what's a kalashi,
and more. Tune in every 2 weeks to follow along with the tasty podcast for the healthily mental.
Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts to hear us every other week.
A proud member of the Hello Sweetie Podcast Network.
Yeah, I think you have to add Mr. Porrigan as part of the drinking game rules.
We could even have a non-alcoholic drinking game rule, but so my brother kid, because that's what he is, well, they had a contest at high school. They did this one weekend during the wintertime, and the idea was run till you puke, is you would drink 8 ounces of eggnog, and then you would sprint a lap. And then once you stopped, you would drink another 8 ounces of eggnog and sprint a lap.
Ew.
Teenagers are stupid.
And you just do that until you throw up. He's like, some people just can't throw up. I'm like, no. Everybody will retch to that at some point.
Yeah.
See, in high school, how we did it was we thought in Provo, Utah, in high school, we would play the Star Wars drinking game. We had a copy of it that we downloaded from the internet on AOL in 1995.
Stop, Prodigy?
And yeah, I know, right?
Okay.
And then what we do is we just have, soda and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was essentially a steel bladder competition. There were so many rules on there. And we'd watch the entire trilogy. And it's like, if you can make it past the Death Star, you're probably cheating. But,
Probably have a stadium pal or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I had a friend of mine in high school who he had a very small dog, and he was wearing basketball shorts, and he was playing with the dog with the ball and teasing whatever, and he had the ball like right in front of him, and the dog jumps up to bite it, and he moves, and the dog missed the ball, but it grabbed onto 2 other ones that were attached to him, and then the weight of the small dog caused the bag that was attached to him to shred a little bit, so he had to go in and have surgery to put that back together. So he made the mistake of telling me, because I am a lovely and kind individual, that he was not allowed to laugh and or get an erection. He was on medication because that would be either very painful, or the fact that he was also, if he laughed, he would wet himself because he had to wear a diaper because he had no control
So
over
if you
it.
were getting reconstructive ball sack surgery, did he just have like 2 softballs put in there just cuz?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember him telling us that he did a test and he could, in fact, bear children. He still, to this day, does not have children, so I don't know if that was a lie or not. But so I would basically just sit there at lunch and just tell him as many jokes as I could to try to just make him pee himself. Like that was basically what I did.
What an asshole.
Well, at least you didn't try and give him an erection. That would have been worse.
I think I put something. I think I put like the because we were locker partners
or something.
I was like a Baywatch calendar. It was like the swimsuit issue because we were still Good Mormon kids, but I think it was like the swimsuit issue of like Sports Illustrated. I think we put that up.
I remember the first swimsuit issue where they had painted on swimsuits.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. So every once in a while, I have a moment where I go, "Wait, what the fuck were my parents thinking?" And I had one recently when I realized that when my parents got a subscription to Sports Illustrated, it came with a free video of the making of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. My mother deliberately gave that to me as a gift, and I'm thinking to myself, what did she want? What did she think I was going to be using this for? Like, it was all of a sudden it was like, I mean, and like she knew I was a big fan of Kathy Ireland, and like that she gave it to me deliberately, and I was like, I look back at it and I go, what the hell, Mom? And I'm not brave enough to actually bring it up because it's just too awkward and weird. But like, that was just a disturbing moment.
Deny it. I love you, Mom. The other thing,
here, son, have some softcore pornography. It's wonderful.
As long as I'm not aware of it, you're fine.
It was just weird, man. I just, looking back, I was like, what the hell was she thinking? But like, my mom may not have thought twice about it. It may have just been like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, didn't even think about it. But like, I don't know. I don't know if it was a deliberate choice or not.
Let's go with that one. I'm surprised my parents let me watch Stripes as often as I did as a youngster. The one with Bill Murray and whatnot. Wow. I watched that the other day, and I'm like, holy shit. There's like naked mud wrestling. I mean, it's awesome, but my 8 and 9-year-old self sure did not appreciate that enough.
It's one of those things, too, where it's like there were a lot of TV shows that I watched edited on television, and then you see them as an adult, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't know all this stuff was in this movie originally.
Yeah, even Big. Big drops the F-bomb.
Well, Big, he actually gets to fill up a girl on there.
I know. Yeah. I remember that part, too.
Yep.
Yeah, because the scene where he turns off the light and then turns it back on.
I hope that happens in Shazam.
That could be hilarious.
Oh my god.
Speaking of 80s comic book movies, you guys remember Howard the Duck with the naked duck nipples?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And then Howard gets like a...
Howard the Duck banged Leah Thompson?
I still have a crush on Leah Thompson. Yep. I'll admit to that.
Well, and Howard gets that like a feather erection on the top of his head. So there you go. Like,
that was going on with the little kid from Little Rascals.
Alfalfa?
Yeah. Not Spanky?
No.
Oh, okay.
Spanky's a different thing that Adam does.
Don't we?
Anyway.
All?
Yeah.
Give us a little Spanky.
Give us a little slap and pickle.
When you get off to masturbation, share masturbation experiences.
Yeah, we're not discussing sharing.
So manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny.
Sometimes I wonder about you.
What did I do?
So manifest destiny. Does anybody want to give a general summary of it?
So basically, yeah, Lewis and Clark were paid by the government to go on their expedition like they did in real life, but they heard stories from President Jefferson that there were monsters out back east. So they brought the army with them. They hired a bunch of murderers and told them basically, if you do this with us, you'll all be pardoned to go and forge this trail and kind of settle.
They were the first Suicide Squad.
First Suicide Squad, exactly, to go settle this. So they go on. They're trying to get to this fort. They go on land. They get attacked by this minotaur, which is like a buffalo minotaur kind of thing.
It's not a minotaur.
Yeah,
it's not a minotaur. That tears people apart. They eventually get to the camp they're trying to get to, the fort, and no one's there. They break down some barriers and find out that inside are these weird, like, zombie people that have been taken over by some kind of plant. They find out from the only survivors that people went into the forest. They got infected. The only thing that can kill them truly is fire. All of a sudden, this guy shows up with Sacagawea, who's basically his wife, and they decide they need to go into the forest to... Why were they going to the forest again?
Well, they need to continue going forward, but they're also trying to get back to their boat to pay this guy and whatnot.
Right. So they send a group of people in the forest, like, distract... Oh, no, they were going to distract the monsters, but Sacagawea killed them all. So instead, they're going to go in and try to destroy all that, whatever's causing all the evil vegetation stuff to happen. Lewis and Clark find...
Right, because that's their mission, is like they're supposed to go find all of these monsters and kill them so that nice white people can come and colonize the land.
Like we did in real life. And eventually they
Like we
find
did from real
this
life.
giant plant that actually is like a creature from another universe or galaxy that's like a god there. It tries to eat Lewis and Clark, and Lewis has really weird dreams about sex people who start to kill him before Sacagawea saves them. Oh, because they told Sacagawea.
It's Lewis has sexy dreams and Clark has like violent dreams of the Native Americans killing him after being tortured.
That's what it was. And then Sacagawea saves their asses. They go back to the ship and to be continued kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
That should be a drinking game, as anytime Sacagawea saves everybody. Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I actually really liked this book. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was kind of a fun, monstery sort of little jaunt. And I mean, for me, it read really fast. I don't know if anybody else felt that way.
Oh, no, it was a really quick reading.
Yeah,
And
quick read.
I didn't know what it was about because, like, Maya read it first. So I was like, hey, so what is this about? And he's like, oh, it's basically Lewis and Clark, but like retconned with monsters. And I love that kind of stuff. Like, even though Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was a shitty movie, I still had fun with it because I like that kind of shit. So this was definitely like a book that was up my alley.
Well, and like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is pretty fun as well. The book, at least. I don't know if they've made a film of it, but the book is fun.
They did, and it had Matt Smith in it from Doctor Who.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not very good.
Was it any good?
I'm also a big fan of alternate history stuff, and like this, and Manhattan Projects, and Wolfenstein, and you know, this hit all the right notes with me.
Well, and we're getting Overlord this fall from J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
You know, that looks really cool.
Which isn't it technically low key like in the Cloverfield universe, but not quite, or something weird like that?
Yeah, supposedly. So we'll see. I'm excited for it. That just looks super cool. It's like, yeah, we're invading Germany. We're going to storm the beaches at Normandy, and then there's monsters. Yay!
You know, as if the Nazis weren't bad enough.
I know.
I was about to say that.
Hey, there are some good people among the Nazis. We got to remember that.
They're very fine people.
Very fine people.
On both sides of the
Hey,
issue.
some of the monsters are fine people, too.
Sure.
They donated to my campaign.
I am reading Frankenstein, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he is a very fine monster, I will say. He quotes Keats in the book a couple times, so, you know, very fine monster.
You quote Keats, you're not a bad person. Then how about that Shape of Water monster? He was all good.
Sure.
You know,
and E.T. He's an alien.
E.T.?
The creature from the Black Lagoon gets some.
Yep.
I learned a weird thing about the creature from the Black Lagoon, and that is that chlorine in your eyes while watching a 3D movie is really painful.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I used to, when I was a swim team as a kid, they used to have a party, and they would throw, put a bunch of the scoreboards together and put sheets over the top of it when they would project movies back, you know, when you could actually rent a projector and actual reels of film, which is shocking that was a thing. And so we watched Jaws 3, the one that takes place at SeaWorld, or a SeaWorld-like thing. And, of course, me and my friends being obnoxious like we were. Every time I heard the first dun-dun, we'd hit the water and start, like, swimming underneath. And then as soon as we were about ready to run out of breath, we figured that was about the end of it. We'd start pulling on people's legs as they were hanging on inner tubes and start dragging them underwater and scaring the crap out of everyone, which was fun. But then after that, when most people left, we watched a second movie, which was Creature from the Black Lagoon, which was a 3D movie. And 3D movies with chlorine in your eyes really hurts, like really bad. So just in case you're ever wondering, don't do that. I just don't recommend it. So, but yeah, Maya, what are your thoughts? I haven't heard much from you yet.
No, I really liked it. Like I said earlier, it hit all the right notes with me just because I'm a big fan of alternate history stories. I had heard of this book, but I didn't know what it was about beyond having Lewis and Clark in it. So when the buffalo tar and the first like plant zombie showed up, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I like really got into it, and I want to get volume 2 now.
Yeah, that's the problem with doing the show, and that's part of the reason why I'm close to 900 books now, is that like we read something random and all of a sudden I'm like, shit, now I got to go buy the other books.
I don't know why that's an issue.
I'm running out of space. In fact, one of my plans for today is to actually reorganize all my shelves because my organization is starting to fall apart because I don't have enough space for everything to go where it should go. So that's part of the problem. But anyway, Adam, I cut you off.
Well, I was just going to say that the nice thing was that this one was free on Comixology Unlimited, so I didn't look to see which other ones are on there, but I know they've started adding second trades too, so it could be on there as well.
So Andy, this was just recommended to you. You hadn't read this before.
Yeah, and I had actually heard about this from NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour. As another very hoity-toity podcast, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like it's right up my alley. So And if it was terrible, then I had something good to blame. And if it was good, I could be like, yeah, those motherfuckers at NPR told me about it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I just looked it up. They're up to volume 5 in the trades right now, and volume 6 comes out in October.
There you go.
Are you on Comics book database as well?
Nope, I'm on Amazon.
Oh, okay. But this actually says the Flora and Fauna came out in 2014. Volume 2 came out in 2015. Volume 3 came out in 2016. Volume 4 came out in 2016. Volume 5 came out in 2017. Yeah, and they had an issue come out in May of this year, so they're still putting stuff out.
And I think one of the things that I like about it is I like stuff that can be a little bit political and a little bit edgy in that way while not being like partisan. Like there's nothing in here about Trump. There's nothing in here about whatever. But, you know, the entire idea of manifest destiny and, well, we're going to go out and, you know, displace a bunch of indigenous people and life forms in order to make way for white settlers. It's like, hey, you know, there is an interesting concept in there. And like, you know, in the same way that a lot of, you know, space exploration drama has a lot of those same themes about like, when is colonization bad? And can we talk about that? This is interesting. Although they spend a lot more time here, I think definitely dealing with like just sort of man versus nature stuff. Like this is not where we were necessarily meant to tread, and maybe we should have you know, stayed back in our nice little villas on the East Coast, which is also a thought. So,
well, and oddly, I was noticing this too. Going back to the Weird Frankenstein book I'm reading, one of the things they have in there is an idea of an alien race's basically their resources are dried up, and that's why they're trying to come in through another dimension to come into our dimension to, you know, or onto our planet to try to get stuff. I think you see in a slightly political way, you see more commentary on, hey, we're using up our natural resources, and what do we do after that? You know what I mean? And so sometimes they show that as monsters being the ones, and maybe sometimes we're the monsters that are taking things over. And I don't know. It is an interesting political sort of idea as to, you know, where the who's right and who's wrong on that whole front is, you know, arguable on both ways, but you know,
I thought it was really funny where they were like, "Oh, we should go try and maybe talk to the Minotaurs." It's like, you know, like you know, that maybe that is something. But then you have like the alien plant. Like, yeah, there's actually no dealing with them, and in fact, they are the invader. They're the invasive species, and we're now like defending our home turf. So it kind of flips the table on that, which was nice.
Did I miss something, or I don't think I did. I'm just making sure that there was no real connection between the plant zombies and the non-minotaurs, were there?
No.
Or did they just happen to?
I don't think
it just
so.
happened. It just happened that
creatures.
two weird like things were happening in the same place.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think. I mean, which I will say, when I first started reading this, I was a little concerned that it would be like a creature of the week kind of thing, and I like the fact that it had more of a through line than that, because I was a little worried of like, oh, this week it'll be the Minotaur, and then next week it'll be these plant zombies, and then the next week it'll be something else. And I like the fact that there's a longer struggle with these different creatures, and that it wasn't going to be like one new monster per week kind of thing, you know?
I also liked that there were like layers of it. It was like, it would have been really easy for it to just be like, oh, they're zombies and it's an infection, we get rid of it. It's like, no, it's zombies and it's Little Shop of Horrors. It's an alien plant that's trying to colonize us and, you know, and literally take over. And Adam, I don't know if, I mean, I certainly saw a ton of parallels here with Annihilation, which I know these things were done parallel to one another, but I just couldn't stop thinking about them.
No, it was very reminiscent of Annihilation, and honestly, if you listen to this and you haven't seen that movie, it's by the same director and writer of Ex Machina, and it's some of the best sci-fi, the most heady sci-fi I've seen in the last couple of years. So, it definitely one to check out.
Well, Ex Machina, I think, just ended up on Netflix.
I think Annihilation might be coming there soon, because I know it came out about a month ago on Blu-ray and DVD. and it's one that
I noticed Mex Machina was like one of those popular on Netflix right now. It was on there, and I thought that's where I'd seen, but I might have seen it on Amazon originally. But
yeah, go check it out. It's really good. Check both of them out. They're both really, really good.
Right.
It's also really good is my drink.
That's a segue, sir. We appreciate that.
Behold, we finally fulfill the second half of our title and make with the fire water.
Alcoholics transform!
We need to get these bitches drunk.
That sure smells boo!
Anyway, so my drink is called Army Grog. And so you take a shaker full of ice. You add 1 ounce of gold rum, 1 ounce of dark Jamaican rum, 1 ounce of white rum, 3/4 ounce of fresh lime juice, 3/4 ounce of grapefruit juice, 1 ounce of honey syrup, so equal parts honey and water, or you can do simple syrup, whatever works better for you. You shake the shit out of that, you pour it into a glass full of ice, and you top with soda water.
No, that is why all the rum is gone.
Yes.
That drink has all the
Well, and my inspiration was because they kept on saying when they get back to the boat, they're all going to get shit hammered on rum. So.
Right.
Like you do. I'm going to go with mine. Mine is called the Bachelor's Button Martini. Bachelor's Button is actually a flower, and you're going to use this flower in the drink. So you're going to create a simple syrup with the petals. So you're going to use 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water, and 1/4 cup of Bachelor Button petals. You're basically going to make the syrup, you're going to combine the sugar and the water and the Bachelor's Button petals into a small saucepan, and you're going to boil it on medium heat, stirring it occasionally, and you're going to simmer until the water or the sugar has dissolved. And then you're going to lower the heat and then keep it going for 10 to 15 more minutes, and then to allow the petals to sort of steep in there. And then you'll let cool, and then you'll strain. And then after the syrup is cooled, you'll add it to the rest of your cocktail, which is 2 ounces of gin, 1.5 ounces of Lillet Blanc, which is a fortified wine, which is in Corpse Survivor number 2, which is why I'm a fan of that, and I have some here. 1/4 ounce of the simple syrup that you made, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1 egg white, and you're going to use the carnation of a Bachelor's Button for garnish. And so you're going to shake all those ingredients with a shaker over ice, and you're going to strain into a glass and garnish with your Bachelor's Button petals, and that is your cocktail. Mr. Todd, do you have a drink?
I do, but that drink you just described, I would screw it up. I would try to make it like 4 times and say
that is super complicated. It's like holy chemistry set. Wow.
It's not bad. No, you're basically just making simple syrup, and then the rest is just a regular drink.
Settle down, Heisenberg.
So I bet it's tasty if I get past the gin part. But
I should, to be fair, I did get it off of the anthropology website, so knowing how fancy and
it's a little hoity-toity.
It is a little hoity-toity. That's fair.
So there's my judgment about your drink.
That's fine. I'll take it.
So with that being said, I'm doing I'm going to do a classic green drink, a Midori Sour.
Okay.
Is what we're doing here, and what that is, it's got 1.5 ounces of Midori melon liqueur, which has this nice strong green look to it. 2 ounces of your favorite sour mix, 1.5 ounces of fresh lime juice. So you put all of that in a shaker, shake the shit out of it, put it in a lowball glass with ice, then you just top it off with a dash of lemon lime soda and put a maraschino cherry as garnish on that.
Well, speaking of green drinks, Mr. Maya, what is your drink?
I also have a green drink.
It's like we're reading about the Hulk today.
Right?
I know, right?
It's called the Minty Orchard. The ingredients are 4 ounces of Angry Orchard crisp apple, 1 ounce vodka, 1/2 ounce of creme de menthe, and 1/4 ounce of lemon juice. Shake and strain over ice in a rocks glass, and then top it off with some more Angry Orchard, and garnish with a mint sprig.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's not overly complicated, unlike some people on the show.
Right.
Who could that be?
Just call it as I see it, man.
That's fine. I'll take the guilt where I deserve it, and I deserve it. That's fine.
Sure.
Mr. Andy, what is your cocktail, sir?
All right. So remember those tiger's blood snow cones you used to get as a kid? I remember. So this is a Minotaur's blood slush. Take 2 cups of fresh strawberries and a cup of granulated sugar, a cup of water, 1.5 teaspoons of coconut extract. Puree the strawberries and put all of it in a medium saucepan. Bring to a boil. Reduce heat. Simmer for 10 to 15 minutes until it's thickened and reduced. Put it into a heat-proof container that you can easily pour into a glass. Get yourself some very, very thinly crushed ice, pour that over it, and pour in some sparkling water or soda water of your choice, and enjoy. And that's the Minotaur's blood.
Okay. So do you let the simmered drink cool?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, you could melt your ice with it if you want to.
No,
or you could also puss out and just buy some tiger's blood extract at Walmart or off Amazon or something.
Cool. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up about this book before we go into final grades?
It was a lot of fun, and it's from the Skybound imprint from Image. So this is Robert Cookman's imprint of the company. Mm-hmm. So this is the same imprint that did our own Walking Dead and whatnot. So at first I'm like, so from the imprint that brings you Walking Dead, at first I'm like, it's going to be zombies with Lewis and Clark. And it is, but it's different enough at the same time.
It's not overly dark. It's still kind of fun and whatever. I mean, because the other thing to keep in mind about Skybound is that's also Invincible was done on that imprint as well.
By all means. But I was just reading like zombies, Skybound. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I keep coming back to how funny this book actually was. It was really dark and violent, but there was a lot of humor in it, and especially the back and forth of the drinking game about the Minotaur is really going to get you. Because everyone they're not Minotaurs. They have buffalo heads or whatever. And it's like,
well, and of course, all these people seem to be experts on Minotaurs as well, which is always that really funny thing. It's like, well, no, but I thought the Minotaur was part, like whatever.
Let me pull out my book of Greek myths that I just happened to bring on this adventure into the wilderness. Sure.
Right.
Like you.
No, and I think it's fun. I think there's also, there's already some interesting character conflict built into it, so you can see when they go for the long haul, where there could be some interesting things, colliding. Some of the villains wanting to try to get their own, and the conflict between Lewis and Clark, I'm sure can reach ahead at some point in time as well. I mean, they're teamed up and they're buddies, but they have very different approaches to things, and I could see that becoming a problem in the long run. Like there's enough interesting things based out of these first few issues that you could see an interesting life for the run of this book, actually.
Yes, absolutely, and it's very much the story in and of itself is satisfying and it leaves you wanting for more, but it doesn't feel like and this whole thing was a setup for the next chapter.
Yeah, so it's a good book on its own, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it had ended and been just its own thing, I think we probably would have been okay with it, and I think we're all happy that there's going to be more of it.
Yeah. So I think that was very successful. So no, I haven't said as much about it, but it's this was a lot of fun. It was a quick read, but enjoyable. I'll go read it again in a while, I bet.
Yeah. Well, and I think several of us are going to go get the other volumes and continue reading this. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. So let's head into final grades.
Jamie, school is never a waste of time.
Since we have 15 minutes until recess, please put down your pencils and stare at the front of the room.
It's report card time. It's report card time. It's report card time. I'm so fucking done.
God, please, no! 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 No!
So for our writer with the unfortunate name of Chris Dingus, poor kid.
Is that unfortunate, though?
I mean,
is
the
Mr.
only
Dingus in the house? Yes, I am.
I just sometimes see those names and I just think that poor kid when he was in elementary school. You know what I mean? Like that's just I had I think it was like my second or third grade teacher would call people dinguses if they were doing something stupid.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And we knew people in high school. I think the roughest one I knew personally in junior high, his last name was Testy.
I knew I knew a kid named Balls, and I think his dad's name was Harry, actually.
See, and that's really rough. I went to high school with a last name Packer, and his first name was Richard.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. And I'm like, parents don't think about these things, apparently.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But
Dingus
also, but if he's going by Dingus and he's an author or whatnot, in large part, it's a choice.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done a nom de plume, but did not.
He chose not to, so he's owning Dingus. So good for you, Dingus.
Yeah, Dr. Steve Brule says if you're going to make a comic book, just change your name, Dingus.
Okay, so for Mr. Dingus, what is your vote? We'll go with Andy.
I give this an A. I mean, I mentioned how funny it was, but like Todd was saying about the characters, and there were everyone got some development. I mean, we really don't know that much about Lewis and Clark other than they went on this journey and whatever. We don't think of them as individuals. And this very immediately started saying, like, no, like they're very different in their approach here. And I'd be very interested in discussing with someone who knows a lot more about Lewis and Clark how this tracks, because I know there's a lot of sordid history with that. So it would be interesting to learn that. And so I was just enchanted by this and thought, it was a lot of fun. And even the side characters got some development and got stuff to do, which I thought was great.
So the one Lewis and Clark fact thing I do know is they've been doing studies. They can retrace their entire adventure they had, because in their med kits, they had liquid mercury was used as a cure-all for what ails you. So they can go through... Oh, yeah, like you do. Like you do. So they can go through and they find the mercury deposits from their leavings. And by searching and finding that, they can pretty much map out their entire trip.
You mean their poop?
Their poop.
Their poop.
That's right.
Their leavings.
Their poop. They're leaving, see?
I like how you're using the euphemism as though this is like a G-rated podcast.
Yeah.
That euphemism was so clean, and I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like,
their leavings right there. So sorry, they're shit.
I was just nodding. Yeah, they're leaving.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, Mike, but I was thinking, like, did they spill some everywhere they went? Like, what's going on? I don't.
They had to make water and their leavings and whatnot. So yeah, when they went and they
does a Lewis and Clark go poop in the woods?
They can still find it 150 years later.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So,
Todd, I want you to write a children's book called Lewis and Clark's Poop, an expedition. Like, that's what I want right now.
Poopspedition.
The Poopspedition of Lewis and Clark.
That's amazing.
Oh, Mr. Poopspedition, what is your grade?
I'm also giving it an A.
All right, Poopspedition spoke up.
I didn't think you were Mr. Poopspedition, but okay.
He is
cool.
now.
I said it. I thought you were talking to me about it.
No, I was.
Well, actually, speaking of, I'll tell that off there.
Do I want to know? I don't know if I want to know.
Like I said, I'm a fan of alternate history stories, and this left me wanting more in a very good way. So, yeah, I'm going to give it an A.
How are you sure it's an alternate history, man? That might be fake news. This might be the real history.
It could be.
Fake news.
Use a hoe.
Okay. Mr. Todd, what's your grade?
Well, Mr. Not Poopspedition himself. I give this a B+. Once again, it was a lot of fun. It was funny. It was scary. It left me wanting more. It didn't change me, but I had a great time with it. B+.
Okay, I'm going to go with an A. I really dug this, and I thought it was, I definitely wanted to finish. I got the end of it and felt satisfied, but also wanted to read more, so I think that's a pretty good compliment for the book. And Mr. Adam?
I'm at a B+ as well. I had a lot of fun with it. It was interesting. It was funny. It was quirky. And I do kind of want to know where the story goes, but I'm not, desperate to go out there and immediately get the second trade to find out what happens next.
So then for art, looks like Matthew Roberts and Owen... someone want to help me with that last name? Gieni. Genie?
Let's go with Genie.
Okay,
sure. Genie in a bottle.
He can come on the podcast and tell us how it's pronounced.
Tell me I'm wrong.
That's fine. I just butcher names so constantly. I'm trying not to butcher them if I possibly can, but I'm just bad at it. So for Matthew and Owen for their art, what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'll go with an A-. I really like the art in this. It was really evocative. They did a great job of making these alien creatures and fungus come to life and make them actually scary. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. I will also go with an A. I really dug this. I thought it was a lot of fun. And the art's cool. It's a little cartoony, which is fine. And I think, it's not as highly detailed as some other books that you sometimes see, but I still had enough details that I think it really read really well, and it was really fun, and visually it was enjoyable. So, Mr. Todd.
So, have you guys seen the movie Dead Alive, the old Peter Jackson classic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm flipping through this right now. There's this one sequence where it's got one of the zombie dudes just retching all over somebody else, and the guy's going, "Gah!" And it is delightfully disgusting. And as I look at it, I'm going, nope. So this artwork definitely does an emotional impact and gets physical reactions out of me. So it's an A. I have a lot of fun with this one.
Mr. Maya.
I'm also at an A. In addition to, your standard like pencils and inks, I thought the colors were really well done in this book, especially when it did come to like the green eyes and veins and everything in the zombies. Just overall, I thought it was really well done. I'm giving it an A.
Cool. And Mr. Andy.
Same to especially what Todd and Maya were saying. That scene with the zombie where he just vomits green all over the guy. You're just like, oh, I literally just like put the comic down. It's like, holy shit! All right, this book is fun. And the same with the first splash panel where we saw the outline of the dead not Minotaur. I'm like, oh, holy crap! That's what's in this book. Okay, cool. And I really enjoyed how the art was paced, if that makes any sense. There were just reveals as things kept going on, and it helped build the world. There was also a really early page where they come ashore and they're out picking flowers, and someone picks up a flower and it looks like a skull. And you're just like, oh, that's not foreshadowing.
That's awesome.
But it was also so beautiful. And like someone really took the time to really draw that and color it just right. Absolutely gorgeous. In the way that these infected animals, looked when they were infected with the zombie virus. It was just really meticulous. You can tell this art. If it was rushed, it certainly didn't look like it. Someone really took their time on this and really put a lot of effort into it. So, A.
So then we'll go for overall grades. I will go with an A because the average of my two together. I'm just gonna say it's an A. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really fun. I want to read more. Mr. Andy.
A as well. That's my average. You can't say anything better about a comic than I immediately want to go and read the next one, and that's exactly where I'm at.
And Mr. Todd.
I'll fonz this up. It's an A. So, no, it was a whole lot of fun. And even like back to that art again, as Andy was talking, what this has really done is it's kind of it fits in that art style with the Americana kind of a thing going on with it as well. So it doesn't feel, it feels, even though it's the West and whatnot, there's quite the Americana feel.
It's like that Hudson River School look. Yeah,
and
totally.
It's the perfect choice. It's great there. It was, and it's very fitting. This style would not have worked in Europe or a European story or some of that other thing. So no, it was a great thing. But yeah, I want to read the next one. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. At the end of the day, I'm reading this. It's like, why isn't this getting more coverage than it is?
Probably.
Well, apparently it's on NPR.
Say probably because it's an image book and there's about 1 million new image number ones every month, and sometimes books fall through the cracks.
Sure, but this one's, at least if this maintains its level of output and whatnot, I'd be really surprised it's not talked about more. So I want to find out more.
Cool. Mr. Maya.
I gave it an A to an art and A to story, so I'm at an A overall. I just thought it was a really good book.
And Mr. Adam.
I'll go with an A as well. I had a lot of fun with it. It's not, again, I'm excited to see where it goes next. I'm not going to rush right out and get the next book. Well, once it's free. But, no, it was fun. It was enjoyable for all the things you guys already said.
Cool. So before we move on to recommendations, this is the end of our month of Andy Wilson books.
Bye, Andy.
I'm sorry.
No, but
Well, now you guys have to go read a bunch of books about sports, so I'm out.
You're out? Oh, fine. You're more than welcome to join us anytime you would like, Andy.
The two that I've read that we're doing next month, I really like.
Okay, well, talk me into why I should come back for Southern Bastards, and
Southern Bastards is
I'll come back.
The three that I've read, I forgot we're doing that.
Okay, so we're doing sports ball. My logic being that it's sort of the end of baseball season, and it's the beginning of like football season, and you're getting a little bit of basketball preseason in there. Soccer's still going on. There's a lot of sports still going on in September. So college football starts up. Sports ball. So there's sports ball. So episode 125, beginning of the month, we're going to do Superman versus Muhammad Ali, a classic book that has been republished. Then we're going to do Southern Bastards, which I love. It's a basically imagine. Did you ever read Scalped?
Yes.
Okay, you read Scalped. So same writer as Scalped. It's basically about a football coach who uses his older players as muscle and basically runs a mob that runs a small town. Is basically what it is.
In Alabama.
In Alabama, yes.
Oh, so it's a biography.
Right.
Maybe.
The area of the country where if your team loses, then the coach's house gets burned down at the end of the season. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's Southern Bastards, and then the next one's going to be Ringside, which was a recommendation from Maya.
It's a pro wrestling book. It deals with like the main characters and them coming up in the world of professional wrestling, and some that have been there for a while, and not real people, not real characters, of course, but the shitty things that happen. And it's a really cool book. It's I think you'll like it.
And then the last one is a book called Mara. Have you read this one, Maya?
I have not. I didn't even hear about. Hadn't even heard about it until you had mentioned it when we were figuring out the books.
Yeah. So basically, all I know is it's a book about a professional volleyball player.
In the future,
but
written by the guy
in the future.
DMZ.
Oh, Brian Wood.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, that's right.
So yeah. Brian Wood wrote it. I've got it. It was good.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So have you read it before, Todd?
Yeah, I've had it for about a year.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've had it for about a year.
I love you. You need a kiss. Come on. Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, we're going to be doing Halloween 3. I don't have an Electric Boogaloo thing for Halloween 3. So we'll have to come up with
Halloween in 3D.
Halloween in 3D, yes. We have 5 books in the month of October, so we'll get to do 5 Halloween books. So,
all right.
Anyway. So, yeah, so if Mr. Andy wants to come back and join us for any of those, he is always welcome. You live in
I just got to say, I don't think Superman versus Muhammad Ali is a fair fight. I mean,
read the book and you'll
Ali in 3 rounds. He's the greatest of all time on Soups.
That's
just
right.
hang up your caveman.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding. So, I don't, maybe we'll
that was
see.
done by Neil Adams.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the famous Neil Adams.
So we're getting a little classic literature in here, so which will be exciting. So who has recommendations?
I don't have
anything actually this week. I might next time.
Really?
So I've got something here. So as I've been going through, and I'm getting some life changes coming up here this next year. Going through, but there's a book called Through the Woods, Stories by Emily Carroll. It is a graphic novel. It's meant for the teen audience, and it's put out by Simon & Schuster. So this is not your typical comic right here. It is 4 short stories, a bit of the macabre, but the coloring on this book is some of the most artistic, well thought out, and gorgeous I have ever read.
Okay.
So it really is quite fantastic. Once again, it's called Through the Woods. The introduction, I'll just do a quick read of the introduction of the story here because it's a lot of fun and it doesn't take long. Hold on. It says, when I was little, I used to read before I slept at night, and I read by the light of a lamp clipped to the headboard, stark white and bright against the darkness of my room. I dreaded turning it off. What if I reached out just past the edge of the bed and something waiting there? Flip the page. Grabbed me and pulled me down into the dark. And that's the start of the book.
That's
nice.
I mean, it's just great, fun little read, and I really love the artwork and everything else, and it's fantastic. So yeah,
you're gonna horrify your daughter with that.
Dude, I have bought like all of the Neil Gaiman kids books. I've got a Lewis Carroll cardboard book for the alphabet. So it's like, oh, it's a cardboard alphabet book, and like, why the fuck is there a 7-syllable word with the letter E beginning with it? But it's the way it is. So yeah, it's gonna be something else. So yeah, there's that.
There's no hope for your kid not being a nerd. I'm just putting it out there right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's, and we're playing games. Like, do we give our kids such a name that they like? It's a built-in meter for your teacher's intelligence.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, don't do that.
Your kid's already going to be the smartest kid in the room anyway. There's no need to make them feel like they're smarter than their teacher, too.
Well, that's true.
Well, since we are missing a couple of recommendations, I have two.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is a comic book called Grass Kingdom, which is by Matt Kint. It is about basically a small town that kind of protects their own and is a little bit set off of an actual official town. They have some siblings who are actually in the real town, and so there's a little bit of a battle and a rivalry going on between this sort of compound and the actual real town, and it all kind of starts some trouble when the wife of the sheriff of the real town runs away from him and ends up at the Grass Kingdom, and they start doing some investigation on the Grass Kingdom's past as to how certain things went down. I've read the first 2 volumes of it. I believe the third's supposed to come out soon. But it was recommended to me because I am a fan of Jeff Lemire, and the writer has a similar writing style to Jeff Lemire. He has also followed up. That's part of the reason why I'm reading Frankenstein: Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He takes over that run after that as well. And then my other recommendation is actually recommended to me by a friend of mine. My buddy Doug plays bass for Air Supply, so he's touring a lot. Yes, they still tour a lot. I was surprised as well. And so he's in airports all the time, and he's bounced around the country. And this was something he's found that is kind of interesting that he does. And it's called Duolingo, and it's an app that helps you learn other languages. And so basically you set a goal, and like it will remind you. And so I log in for 10 minutes every day, and I play little games, and I'm trying to learn Japanese and Spanish because I live in Southern California, and Japanese because I like anime and things like that. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to learn Japanese.
You nerd.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Todd. Anyway, so it's been really enjoyable. The funny thing about it is you can learn Klingon on it, which I signed up for, but it doesn't pronunciate it for me, which like sucks. Like only being able to read Klingon, I don't think does anyone any good. I'm seeing if I can figure out how to fix that glitch so I can try to learn Klingon as well. But
I just love Christopher Lloyd as a Klingon. That's so good.
Yeah, there's a language in Game of Thrones as well. What is that language?
Dothraki?
It's not Dothraki. There's another one though. I can look it up and see.
Oh, there's all sorts of stuff.
You can learn, what is it?
High Valyrian?
Yes, that's what it is.
Oh.
There's Klingon, there's High Valyrian, Czech, Romanian, Swahili, Greek, Hungarian, Vietnamese, Hebrew, Welsh, Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, Norwegian, Esperanto, Turkish, Swedish, Danish, Irish, Dutch, Portuguese, Italian, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, German, French, and Spanish. And the funny thing is, living in Southern California, I know way more Spanish than I expected. The Spanish one's been by far the easier one. The Japanese has not been nearly as easy as the Spanish has been, but how it goes. So,
all right.
Anyway, those are my 2 recommendations. Mr. Andy, do you have any recommendations?
I do. First, I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion here. The first bit of self-promotion, I want to talk about Adam for 1 second. Okay, so Adam and I started doing the Bored as Hell podcast like 2 some odd years ago, and it's been really tough to get out episodes over the last year or so, since we've had a lot of changes in our lives and schedules. And in the meantime, Adam, I think that you have put together one of the most amazing podcasts in Cinema Queens. And one of the things that I think like Bored as Hell, I loved it because I love hanging out with you, but it's we're just talking about movies. There's no edge to it. There's no specific lens on it other than 2 people who know a lot about movies talking about movies. Okay. Talking about queer cinema and talking about cinema through a queer lens, we need more of that out there. And you and Chris do such a great job, and you bring up mainstream movies, you bring up Oscar movies, you bring stuff you've heard of, you bring stuff you've never heard of. It's hilarious. It's filthy. And I just love that podcast. And if you want a good one to start off with, it'll be a little more than a month ago now. Go back and listen to Adam's episode about Nanette by Hannah Gadsby.
Yes, that was my favorite episode we've done to date.
And watch Nanette, of course. But y'all do such a great job with that, and I love that podcast. So everyone, like, I know we don't have many new episodes of Bored as Hell out. We will eventually figure that out. But until then, please listen to Cinema Queens. In the meantime, I've also got another side project that I've been working on with a guy who's actually my best friend since high school, whose name is JB. And
I don't know nothing about doing podcasts that way, Todd.
And we just had this epiphany that, like, you know, the world kind of sucks right now, and people need to think about things that are better and things that are great. And we found ourselves arguing one day about whether Depeche Mode belonged in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or not. And I'm like, yeah, Depeche Mode isn't rock and roll, but they're great. Why isn't there another Hall of Fame for whatever, however you want to classify it? Why do you need to say this is rock and roll, this isn't rock and roll? Like, NWA is in there, Depeche Mode is in there. They're not necessarily rock, but they are great music. So what if instead we created in our own minds a palace to greatness, where everyone curated their own best of, and there are always going to be people who are left out of halls of fame for various reasons, either political or because of bias and other things, or maybe they were just really obscure but are in fact great. The other thing that I also wanted to talk about is that there are obscure and mundane things that can also be great. Greatness can be just, you know, being kind to people. It can be running a nonprofit to take care of animals. It can be all sorts of things. And we wanted to find a way to highlight, yes, our favorite in movies and music and books and video games and everything, but also talk about what is great out in the world as a counterbalance to everything that is bad. So that is the Hall of Greatness. By now, it should be out on iTunes and available wherever fine podcasts are sold. You can find it at thehallofgreatness.com, and hopefully have a listen. As a preview, our first 4 episodes are a pilot episode where we talk about what this is that we're trying to do. Our second episode is about live music and what makes a good live album. The third episode is what is greatness? What defines what greatness really is? And our fifth episode, I actually do it with my daughter, and we talk about 2 of her favorite video games, Doki Doki Literature Club and Undertale. And it is mega obscure and really fun. So we'll also be doing some various other things. We're going to talk about Steven Spielberg. We're going to talk about Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac, and all sorts of other things, and hopefully have a bunch of guests on there talking about the things that they love as well. So come check out the Hall of Greatness.
Andy, I just need to say, the dulcet tones that come out of you, I could listen to you all day long.
I agree with that.
Oh, thank you.
You have an amazing podcast voice, Andy. I totally 100% agree with that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So that's...
Thank you.
Great.
I appreciate that.
Yes. No, that sounds awesome.
Same here.
Yeah, if you ever need a volunteer for guests, I will volunteer as tribute.
Yeah,
all of you, we definitely need to have you on and talk about various things that each of you love, like individually, and possibly the more obscure and more awesome, the better. So
okay,
I'll be thinking about that.
do,
Let's do it.
I did do one guest episode on Cinema Queens, and I thoroughly enjoyed that experience as well.
We like having you there too.
Fun. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
I still am supposed to guest on Cinema Queens. There's at least 2 in the pipeline that I'm earmarked for at some point in time.
Same.
But no, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'd love to do that.
Same. We have to talk about Latter Days, and I can give my.
Oh yeah,
we are eventually going to do that in that movie.
Yeah. So at some point.
I've actually seen that one.
Yeah.
Isn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. He plays one of the companion missionaries.
Yeah, he's kind of an asshole in it, if I remember correctly.
He kind of is, but he has a redeeming turn at the end, kind of like so.
Yeah,
kind of redeeming.
So Amy loves Joseph Gordon-Levitt until she saw the movie Don John.
Oh yeah.
That actually really turned her off to him. Going, so he directed this? I'm like, yeah, and she's like, huh. I've never seen someone lose a crush that quick. That was kind
I have. So check out the Hall of Greatness. Also check out Cinema Queens, and if you haven't already, there's always English Class Hooligans, and of course Bored as Hell. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Thanks again for joining us this month, Andy. Really appreciate it, and thank you for the fine recommendations that you provided us with. I miss you already. And hopefully we get you back here soon.
Yeah, this was so much fun. I really love this, and I'm really glad to have been able to revisit old books that I've read before, discover new books like Manifest Destiny. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
If nothing else, this might have to be an annual thing. We might just have to earmark August as Andy Wilson month every year, and you can just pick all the books.
I don't know if I can take that much responsibility.
We could call it the August Wilson month.
That's a different thing entirely. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Also, thank you, William, for your lovely email. By all means, if you guys have any suggestions for drinking game rules for the actual full show, please email them to us. So far, I have my list of show drinking games is if Mr. Porg makes an appearance, there's a Manny Bothan's reference, the Shame Bell appears, the Cum Dumpster is referenced, and or the Member Berries are referenced, because I've noticed we do that a lot as well. So,
member?
Do you have some member? I remember.
Yep, that works out.
So if you think of anything else or you spot anything else, by all means, let us know, and we'll add it to our list. And I'll probably be, by the time this episode comes out, hopefully I will have posted that list on our website. Feel free to help us add to it. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.